you always know someone and you're always connecting people, and it creates a lot of value. And I think a lot of your value comes from how you are a super connector. That's a role a lot of people are striving for, and they're trying to build their network. But you're finding yourself like, I feel like if I reach out to people, I'm annoying. I'm not seeing people opening doors for me. If I'd ask for a referral, people wouldn't stop, go and open their Rolodex to me. So what are some of the things that are going on in the way that you show up that makes it so that you're connecting with people, people are telling you to connect with others, and you've kind of built this asset of magnetism around you?
Thank you. Appreciate those kind words. I can answer this question in two ways. I can give you some answers on short tactical things to do, like double opt-in and providing a roadmap for these people to connect and how to do that. And we can talk about that. But I think there's a deeper concept at play that I'd love to get into. The year around the world really allowed me to stop and take account of what I'm doing in my life, and am I happy on this current trajectory? And it allowed me to stop moving around, thinking, doing so many things, being in New York, being a banker, working so much. And I actually got to go internal and learn about myself and grow through some difficult things that I didn't even know that I had there because there was so much noise on top of it. And what I realized was the more you work on yourself, the more you realize what your role is here, what your purpose is here, and the more attention you give to understanding who you are and how you want to show up in the world, the more at ease you are, right? The more you could just be yourself, the more you don't have to try to really do anything. And I didn't know any of this stuff. It's not like I woke up and was like, this is what you need to do. I just went through this random journey. And then when I look back, I'm like, the other thing that's really important is when you're taking care of yourself and you go on the journey of self-discovery, you then create capacity, energy, and time within yourself to then give to other people. So most people are not spending enough time on themselves to really go inward and see what it is that they care about, who is it that they are, what was their childhood like, how did that impact them, what programming are they bringing into this current situation. And if you do that enough, you get to a point where you're good and you have 10%, 20% excess capacity and energy. Then that energy, instead of using on yourself, you can then go and give it to other people. So a deep, long way of answering your question is that I didn't know this at the time, but when I came back and I was having conversations with people, I realized that their reactions to me and how they talked about things and how they really leaned in and listened and how enthusiastic they were and the gratitude that they gave after the meetings, I was like, how is this happening? What am I saying? What am I doing? It wasn't like this when I was a banker. But then I realized like, I had changed internally. And how you feel internally about yourself is how the world will then treat you. And you hear this, but like I actually lived it and experienced it and saw it. And through 300 to 400 interactions with people one-on-one, I saw it firsthand of what it looks like when you actually take time for yourself and how the world and society and people respond to you. And so there's no easy answer to do this. It's not like, brush your hair or put on deodorant, it's
Good start.
Definitely do those things. Definitely do those things. Otherwise, no one's going to want to talk to you. But it's really about going a little bit deeper within yourself. And then you realize like how you feel about yourself is then how other people show up for you.
When you say that, I'm like, it makes sense. I've seen this. I'm seeing how by doing that, you're not coming across with a certain sense of like neediness, right? And I almost find like that's the most repulsive thing. And actually, even to the model of selling with love, we were talking about on a previous conversation was, can you sell with love when you're being needy, and you have your own needs that aren't met? And it's actually really hard, because then every time you go to interact, there's like a sense, a vibe in the air that it's like, oh yeah, you're a taker, right? And it sounds like what you've done as a journey is you've gone to a place where you found that sense of peace, of groundedness, and it seems like everybody's kind of shifty anyways. But I'd be curious to know, because there's another side of me that assume someone hearing this could be like, oh yeah, well, maybe I should just stop everything I'm doing and go on a trip of self-discovery as well. Or maybe even like, oh, well, if I was in your shoes going back in time, maybe I wouldn't have even needed to go into investment banking and going through this, because you went through like a pretty hardcore apprenticeship, learning, sharpening of yourself as an individual in the workplace. And I have a bias. There's a bias that says like you need that kind of sharpening experience to have the right to go on a trip and discover yourself, but you need to have mastered some sort of skill, developed some sort of value. But then I'm sure there's a counterweight that says maybe you can skip all that and go straight to the self-discovery. And I'd be curious to your perspective. How do you see that sharpening apprenticeship phase actually playing a huge part into shaping the possibility for you to connect with these others?
Yeah. I go back to everyone is on their own journey and they come into this world with a certain set of circumstances, situations, DNA, upbringing, parents. And so I can't sit here and say that they need to go through the journey that I went on because that was my journey. But inevitably, they're going to go through some things on their own that will give them access and opportunity to do these things. Do you need to take a year off from your life and go and travel and visit almost 30 countries in order to get somewhere? Maybe, but no, you can also bring these things into your daily awareness. You can set aside 30 minutes a day, an hour a day for yourself, where you're just with yourself. You meditate, you read a book, you do something where you're not distracted and you're able to actually quiet down and go deeper internally. And that's really where the magic is. And that's really where the essence of what it is that you're trying to get to. And mind you, I'm still on my journey. I don't have anything figured out. The more I learn, the more I'm like, man, I don't know anything. But I've at least gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, these things make sense to me for now based on where I am. So I can at least be like, okay, I'm at peace for now. I still have so far to go. And I don't even know how far I've come, but I know I have a long way to go. But I'm on my journey. I'm on the road. So like everything's fine. And that allows me to at least sink into a level of comfort so that when I sit down with someone and I'm speaking to them, they're like, there's just like a sense of ease and trust that I feel with you, which goes back to the word that I said. And I can actually sit and pay attention to this person because they make me feel a certain way or they give a certain vibe. And I'm not trying to give that vibe. That comes from me being at a certain place where I'm just generally comfortable with everything. So everyone's on their own journey. You can find your own way to chip away at self-discovery. It doesn't need to be your on the world. It was for me. I don't know if I would have ever gotten that far if I didn't actually stop, as a 28-year-old working in investment banking on the fast track in high finance in New York. It's very alluring. How do you stop that train? I could have just stayed on that train and you never get access to that. So that was my experience, but everyone's in a different place. So there's always a way for you to gain access to these opportunities to discover who you are.
Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.